What's going on, swim fans? Welcome back to Whiteboard Wednesday, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you how to pace for long distance swims. Whether you come to this video as a pool swimmer and you're looking to train for the 500, 1000, or 1650, or our metric friends, the 400, 800, and 1500, maybe you're an open water swimmer, you're training for a 1500 or a 5K open water race. Maybe you don't even want to do a race, but you want to train for a consistent pace in the pool that is a longer distance. You've come to the right place. Make sure you watch this video until the very end, because I'm going to walk through not only 5 different tips to improve your pace, but also a few different sample workouts targeted to different goals like the 500 or the 1500, and not only the actual workout itself, but the execution and the strategy that you need to think about if you want to hold a consistent pace in any of these distances. Now, if you guys are new here, welcome to MySwimPro. My name is Ferris, and I'm here to help you take your swimming to the next level. So if you want to swim faster and smarter than ever before, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, let me know what event or distance you're training for, and if you have any questions, would love to help you guys out. Let's go ahead and get right into the video. The first tip I have for you is building endurance. Now, it might sound kind of obvious that if you want to have a consistent pace, you've got to focus on building endurance. And that really is the foundation. We'll talk about a few other things, but the foundation is building endurance. So how do you build endurance when it comes to pacing? So obviously there's a few different factors. There's volume, which means the total amount of swimming that you're doing. So are you training 10,000 meters a week, 20,000, 50,000 meters a week? We have the volume, that's one variable. You have your training frequency. That's how often you're swimming. Are you swimming 2 times a week, 4 times a week, 7 times a week? Maybe you're doing doubles, you're doing 10 workouts per week in the pool. And then you have your training density. This is something that often a lot of even elite swimmers overlook, and your training density is how much swimming is happening in a specific period of time. So if you swim 3,000 meters in 1 hour versus swimming 4,000 meters in that same 60-minute session. So the second example has a much higher swimming density, about 1,000 meters for every 15 minutes. Now that doesn't mean you're going to swim continuously 3,000 or 4,000 meters, but what is the density, the amount of swimming that you're packing into a specific period of time? And as you develop and as you progress and you think about building your endurance and building your pace, you want to keep these 3 variables in check. So as you build your endurance, you're building your volume, maybe you're building your frequency, and maybe you're building your training density. If you do all 3 of these at the same time, it's most likely going to come at the expense of your pace. So you might actually end up swimming slower so that you can handle this increase in volume. Now, there's typically a rule of thumb that as you increase your volume, you don't want to increase it more than 10% per week. So an example, if you swim 20,000 meters in 1 week, the following week, you really only want to increase by about 2,000 meters total. You can obviously increase a lot more than that, but you're increasing your risk of burning out and injuring yourself. But these are 3 things that you want to consider as you go about picking a training plan or following a structured workout in any capacity. Now, it's really important that you build your progress over time. So if you have a set goal of doing a 1,500 meter 6 months from now, or a 5K 6 or 12 months from now, you want to gradually build your progress. And it's also really important that you follow a training plan that has a consistent strategy behind it. If you guys are looking for a specific training program for a 5K or a 1,500, or maybe even a 1,000 meter swim, make sure you check out the MySwimPro app, available for iPhone and Android, and you can get a personalized workout and training program, workout by workout, set by set, that'll guide you through that specific goal. So definitely check that out, and also make sure you focus on balancing those 3 different variables: volume, frequency, and training density. And all of those come together to build your endurance, your aerobic capacity. And that's really the foundation if you want to have a faster pace. Now let's move to number 2. This is one of the most important for a beginner all the way through an elite swimmer. It's your breathing pattern. When it comes to developing pace, a few different factors come in when it comes to your stroke technique. One of those is breathing. Remember, your muscles need a steady supply of oxygen. If you're going to be doing physical activity for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, maybe 60 minutes, maybe 120 minutes, you're going to need a steady supply of oxygen. When you train in a pool for a shorter distance, like a 50 sprint or a 100 sprint, or any of the strokes, your breathing pattern is going to be different. For example, in the 50-meter freestyle, if you're trying to go as fast as you can, you might not breathe at all, or you take 1 breath or 2 breaths or 3 breaths, but you're certainly not breathing that often. When you train for a longer distance swim and you want to hold a stronger pace, what you want to think about is breathing every 2 strokes. Some swimmers will breathe every 3 strokes or every 4. I highly recommend developing a rhythm around breathing every 2 strokes. It'll not only help you regulate your breath control throughout the duration, but it's going to help you swim at a faster pace. Now, the third tip I want to share with you guys is to de-emphasize your kick. This is really counterintuitive to how a lot of swimmers train in the pool. First of all, if half of your body is your legs, you'd think you want to use those, right? Wrong. Instead, you want to actually focus on balance and developing rotational momentum with your hips, and you might only have a 2-beat kick. Often in swimming, when you want to have the most efficient stroke and you're trying to go fast, you have what's called a 6-beat kick. That means for every 2 arm strokes, for 1 stroke cycle, you kick 6 times, 3 kicks per stroke. Instead, for distance swimming and for figuring out a proper pace, it's much more efficient to have a 2-beat kick and really focus on developing that rotational power driven by your hips instead of focusing on using your legs. So really focus on de-emphasizing your kick, develop rotational momentum, and focus on that breathing every 2 breath pattern, and that will set you up for having the most consistent pace. Now, the fourth tip here is to do pace work. This goes without saying. If you want to swim at a certain pace, you have to train at that pace. But it's also smart to train a little bit faster and a little bit slower to that pace. Now, here's my first bullet point, is to break your goal time and pace into average splits. Here's an example. Let's say you're training for the 500 freestyle and your goal is to break 5 minutes. Now, if your time is not that fast, maybe your goal is to break 10 minutes, really doesn't matter. Just use 5 minutes as an example because the math is easier. So if you're trying to go 5 minutes in a 500 freestyle, that means you need to average 1 minute for every 100 freestyle. If you break that apart another step from hundreds to 50s, that's 30 seconds for every 50. So if your goal is to break 5 minutes in the 500 freestyle, that means you need to go under 30 seconds for every single 50. And you should be able to do that swimming at pace with the stroke technique and the body position and the breathing pattern that you will be able to do for 5 minutes straight in a competition. Now again, if your goal is not to compete in the 500 freestyle and you just want to feel comfortable swimming 1,000 or 2,000 meters straight, same concept applies. Figure out what your goal time is and then break it apart by 50. And when we talk about the workouts at the end here, you'll see how that target pace time really fits in. Now, it's really important that you focus on your pace technique and tempo rather than focusing on your pace speed. So even if your goal time is to go 29 seconds in every 50, if you have to sprint your way there and you breathe once every 6 strokes and you feel super out of breath just to get there, it means you're not really accomplishing the goal of averaging a certain pace, and you're probably not going to be able to make it in a competition or when you push yourself to try and hold that over a long period of time. So remember, it's really important to prioritize your pace technique and tempo and have the stroke rhythm that you want when you're trying to pace something out. Now, the fifth and final tip before we get into the workouts is to stick to a race plan. Now, again, this doesn't have to be a race plan. It could be your workout plan. If you decide to swim the 500 in a competition or the 1500 or the 1650, and you have a certain race plan and you want to hold 29 seconds on every 50, but you swim the race and you get excited and the adrenaline's pumping and you go out in a 25, then you go out in a 53 at the 100, splitting a 28 or 27, you're probably going to die. Now, not literally, but figuratively, you're going to fall apart. And that's because you didn't stick with your race plan. You want to feel easy on the first part of this. It should be really easy to hit your pace time, and you have to feel like you're building the entire 500 or 1650 and really develop into that target time. So swim your own race plan, swim your own workout. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Control your emotion, control your adrenaline, and stick to the game plan that you rehearse for yourself in each and every single workout. Now, speaking of workouts, I have these two on the board, and each of these is for a different distance. So on the first side, closest to me, we have the goal of a 500 freestyle. Then we have a different workout with a similar pattern for the 1500 freestyle. Now, for the sake of keeping this concise, each of these workouts is going to start with the same preset. Now, I didn't write a warm-up or a cool-down. If you download the MySwimPro app, every single workout has a warm-up, a preset, a main set, a cool-down, and we have instructional videos embedded within each of the sets that explain the drills and how you accomplish the different sets. And in the MySwimPro app, we also have effort levels that really tell you how hard you should be swimming. And did I mention the intervals are personalized? So they're dynamically tailored to you, and those personalized intervals really make the workout 100% catered to you. Now let's go ahead and get into this preset. It's 475s pull. That can be with a pull buoy, it can be with paddles, whatever you have to add a little bit of resistance and maybe even swim a little bit faster than you can without any of the toys. Now the intervals are really dependent on how fast you are. So if you have the MySwimPro app, these will become personalized to you. But just as an example, so we have something to go off of, we're going to do 2 on the 120 and then 2 on the 110, and we're going to repeat. So the goal of this is to really vary your speed and vary the amount of rest that you're getting over a relatively short period of time, about 600 meters in this first preset. So that'll get the heart rate up a little bit, and you'll be ready to go for the main set. Now the main set for the 500 time, or the 500 event, you're going to start out with a descending ladder where you go a 300, a 200, and then a 100. Should be about 30 seconds rest on each of these. If you're going by pace, in this example, maybe you'd go on the 120 pace per 100. So that would put the 300 on the 4 minute, the 200 on the 240, and then you should be well under the 120 on the 100. So the goal of this is to descend, to get faster. Notice how you start with a 300. If your target event is the 500, you should feel pretty comfortable swimming a 300, and you should even negative split on all of these. That means you go faster on the second half than the first half. Now that's the first half of the main set, and then the second half of the main set is really where the magic happens when it comes to pacing a 500. On this part, you're going to do 2 rounds of 450s freestyle where you're going to descend to your 500 pace. Then you're going to go 650s freestyle holding your goal 500 pace. So back to the analogy of the 500 under 5 minutes. On this, the 650s, the target time to hit is under 30 seconds on every single 50. Should be pretty reasonable to hit if you do that on the 1 minute or the 55. Your work to rest ratio is about 1-to-1. So you swim 29 seconds, you rest about 30 seconds, and then you go on to the next one. You do 100 easy, alternating freestyle and backstroke, and then you roll right into it, back to the 450s freestyle, descend to 500 pace. Now this workout is fantastic for a number of reasons, but it really targets towards that 500, and that's the pace you're going to hold across these 6 of 10 50s. Let's talk about the 1500. Again, this applies for any level swimmer who's really targeting the 1500 in the pool or in open water. Especially in the pool, this is really relevant. So instead of this descending ladder, we're going to go with 3 300s freestyle, and I want you to build each and every one of these. So each 300 is an opportunity to build and negative split that distance. That's 900 meters of aerobic swimming right there. You should feel pretty comfortable on that. Then we're going to go into the main set, which is also 2 rounds, very similar to the set that we saw over here. Instead of 450s, we're going to go 4 100s freestyle, descend to 1500 meter pace. So let's say your target 1500 meter pace in the pool or open water is 110 pace per 100. So on these 100s, maybe they're on the 140 or the 150, you're gonna descend down to the 110. Then you're gonna go 6 100s freestyle, and you're gonna try and hold that 1500 pace. So in this example, you'd be holding 110 pace per 100. After that, you're gonna repeat the 100 easy freestyle backstroke. Go 2 rounds of that. Of course, you can modify these workouts and you can go 1 round or maybe 2 or 3 or 4 rounds. If you wanna be really masochist, you can do this multiple rounds and multiple strokes if you're training for the 400 IM. So you can do this set fly, then round 2 is backstroke, then round 3 is breast, then freestyle. That'll really put together your aerobic capacity. And if you hit on each of these 5 tips, you're gonna put it all together and you're gonna swim fast. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, let me know down below in the comments. And if you're not in the largest digital swimming community Facebook group in the world, check it out, link below. I hope to see you guys in there, swimming faster, reaching for your goals. I'll catch you guys at the next video, and happy swimming. Peace.